Alright, so in this video we're going to show you how you can take some inspiration that you find online and you can create that in Cherries without utilizing any outside programs. So let's go ahead and kind of get started on how we are going to kind of tackle a project that looks like this. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and create a very brand new project. 12 by 12 mat is okay. And I'm going to be utilizing some tools that you may not have known that are there and some concepts that will possibly broaden your horizon with Cherries 5. So again, let's go ahead and bring in a reference image of this. And for this, I'm just going to go up to the file and I'm going to place the image. So anytime you can download an image, or maybe you screenshot an image, you can always kind of bring it into Cherries 5 by doing the place image. And here it is right here. I just took a quick screenshot of the project that I wanted to accomplish. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of size this and move it around wherever I want on this little mat. Now, things to remember, some of my settings I have with the selection tool, I have the advanced handles. If you're sticking with basic, you definitely can do that, but I'm going to stick with advanced here for this lesson. Once I have it set in the location, at this point I'm going to go ahead and lock it over here in the layers panel, and that just allows me to not be able to move this when I'm trying to drag things around. So the first thing that we kind of see here that we would like to create, and we're going to start from the bottom and move all the way up to the top as if this was a layer, is the rounded rectangle. Okay, so that's what we're going to go ahead and build first. And to do that, we can click over here in the shapes, and we can left click and hold, and we have something called a rounded rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. And again, I'm just going to get a rough idea of the size of this on how I have it on the mat. So that's going to be my base layer, and everything else I'm going to go ahead and reference over here when I'm kind of building out these shapes. Again, we can color code things if we want over here with the color picker. And I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. So the next thing that I would like to tackle on this is the red coat for Santa. And notice that we have the rounded corners on the bottom right. A real quick way to achieve this kind of experience is I'm going to go ahead and create a rectangle and go up about halfway on the tag that I created, or that rounded rectangle. And I'm going to extend it on both left and right sides of it and the bottom. Okay. And we'll sort of see why I'm doing this. So with this selected, I'm going to choose the rectangle, not rounded. And I'm going to go ahead and select the left side here and drag it all the way down. Again, look at me. I'm going on the left and right and bottom edges here. Great. So now I'm going to go ahead and color this just something different so we can take a look. And that looks perfect. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to select our very bottom base layer, the blue part, and I'm going to select it over here in the layers. Next, I'm going to click the copy button, and next I want to select both the red and the background. Now, the reason why I want to do that is because I'm going to use a technique up here where it is path, and I only want to keep where they intersect. So I'm going to choose the intersection, and you're going to see, I'm going to go ahead and color this red, that we have where they intersected, and we are achieving those round corners. Now to get back the base card, that's why I copied it to the clipboard. I'm going to go up here to Edit and Paste in Place. And then I'm just going to go over here on the Layers panel and just move it down to the bottom part. So hopefully you saw how we did that. We created the nice red on top. We gave it the rounded corners, and we still have our base. Again, some of these tips and techniques may be a little advanced, but feel free to pause the video, go back, and follow along. Whenever I'm finished with a layer and I don't think that I'm going to be touching it again, I am going to utilize the lock button. So I'm going to go ahead and click the lock button here. And now the next thing that I would like to address is the belt. And we're going to do the exact same thing that we kind of did for the red and the white that we see here, because I want to make another rectangle and I'm going to extend it past where the card actually is. And then I'm going to select the layer that I need to copy to my clipboard, which is the red base. And I'm going to hit the copy button. Now with both layers selected, so I'm going over to the layers panel, holding the shift button down and selecting the second one. Now I can go ahead and go up here to the path and choose intersection again. So that way I'm keeping exactly where those two pieces have intersected and essentially chopping off the ends of that belt. I'm going to color it black to match the photo. And then I need to go back to the edit menu and click paste in place. And then our layers panel does need adjusted. So I'm going to bring that below the belt. All right, so we have our belt. Now we're going to do the belt buckle. And for that, that looks like a simple square with an insert cut out of it. So I'm going to choose the square again. And I'm just going to hold the shift button down to give me a perfect square. I'm going to color it a different color. Hit OK. And now we need to create the punch out right here. And in order to do that, we're going to use a special effect. So with the object selected, I'm going up to the effects menu, and we're going to do a shadow layer. This menu will appear, and what we would need to do is click on the inset, and let's give ourselves some space. So that looks really good. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and that menu will disappear. Now it's time to come back to the layers panel. Select both of these squares, and then we're going to go to Object and Merge. Okay, and that is how we are able to create the gold belt buckle for Santa Claus. The last part of the belt is to create those holes and make sure that they are spaced evenly. Shortcuts a lot makes it easy for us to do that. Again, I'm going to go over to the Shapes tool, and I'm going to choose Circle. And I'm going to left click and I'm going to drag, holding my shift button down. Now we see the circle on there, and if it is the right size, you can just leave it, or you can utilize the resizing tool here and resize your buckle. Now I'm going to go ahead and resize it just a little, holding the shift button down, and that allows me to get a good circle. The next part here is with the circle selected, we're going to go up here to the object, and we're going to go to duplicate. So Shortcuts a lot gives us a way to give us the right amount of duplications and the proper spacing that you may need if you're wanting to do this. So that way you do not have to eyeball where each of those are placed. So again, you can tweak this however you wish, and once you are done, you can click on the OK. Now the last part to this is we need to select all the circles that we just created over here in the Layers panel. So I'm going to hold the Shift button down while I'm clicking each one of these layers. And then I also want to click the black belt. Once I have all of those selected, now it's time to go up to Object and Merge. And of course, we're going to change our belt color back to black. And if we need to adjust the layers, we can do so over here. So there we go. Everything's looking really good. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the next part of this. All right, so before moving on, I'm going to go ahead and lock these up because I don't need to touch those anymore. The next thing, if we're moving up from the very back to the very top, is going to be the beard of Santa. So to do that, we're going to create a circle to represent almost Santa's face. And then we're going to have another circle that will basically go around this, giving us that cloud scalloped circle effect. So to do that, I'm going to select the circle. I'm going to hold the shift button down so I get a decent sized circle. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I need to create another circle as well. Again, I can hold the shift button down and that will allow me to create that perfect circle. All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to select the little circle and the big circle. So I held the shift button down to do that. You can either do that on the mat or you can do that over here in the layers panel. And then we're going to use an effect called Object on Path. And that's under the effects menu, Object on Path. And I'm going to choose Auto Preview just so we can kind of see what's going on behind the scenes. And for the repeat, I'm going to fill path length. And the spacing, I'm going to choose some negative values. That way we get overlapping. I'm going to choose Weld, and I'm going to choose OK. So you can sort of see that we kind of got that scalloped effect. I am going to select both of these objects, the scalloped circles as well as the main circle that we used as a reference. And I'm going to go to the path, and I'm going to choose Union. And that will sort of fuse everything all together. And to make things look more Santa Clausy, I'll change the color to an off-white. So you can sort of see how we are creating some neat effects, just utilizing a few simple tools that Sure Cuts a Lot has. All right, so now I'm going to size this the way that we kind of need this. So I'm going to kind of scrunch it up there. And again, any kind of editing or altering, we can always apply over here and size things up by eye. All right, so that kind of looks good. Let's go ahead and move on to the next layer. Now I may be going out of order on the next few things, but again, we can always adjust things inside of the layers panel over here. Again, I'm going to go ahead and lock the beard that we just created. And I'm going to go ahead and create the little hat puff. And to me, that kind of looks like maybe a star, and we can put some circles around the star. So I'm going to go over to my Shapes tool, and I'm going to choose Star. I can go ahead and hold the Shift button down if I want, but anyways, I'm going to pick this star right here to make that puff. Now we can change the inner radius. You can kind of see what that does to the star, but the more puffy it looks, the better I think that this is going to appear. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the Shapes tool and I'm going to choose the circles. And I'm just going to go ahead and add circles to each one of these points. And then we can move the circles around a little later. But again, we're utilizing the star as a reference to make our hat puff. Okay. All right, so that looks good. Let me use my position tool, and we can always reposition these. And then once you have the puff the way that you'd want, you can select everything and go up to Path, Union, and there we go. We just created a nice little hat puff. And again, you can resize it after you have it all complete to make sure that it's proportioned the way that you want. Now for the cherries and the leaves, one of the neat things that Sure Cuts a Lot has is a library. And let me go ahead and bring that in over here. And guess what? Under the winter scene, we actually have these right here. So I can go ahead and click on it. And that allowed me to create the three little berries and the leaves. Again, up to you on how you want that to display, but Sure Cuts a Lot has you covered for it. I'm going to go ahead and close the library. Don't need that anymore. And let's go ahead and move on to the next task. All right, for the hat, again, before I'm going to do anything, I'm going to go ahead and lock some of these layers. And I'm going to utilize a circle to kind of give us the shape of the puffs that we see on the top of the hat, the wrinkles. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and put a circle on there, and we're going to just manipulate some circles and kind of union those as soon as we get a good looking kind of hat puff. So again, I'm going to go ahead and create another circle, go over to the shapes, and then we'll create another one right here. And again, we're just trying to kind of match these up with the item that we have. And then we're going to clean things up with the eraser tool. All right, so that kind of looks good. Now I'm going to select everything here, and we're going to union those. So path union, that will fuse them all together. And we can kind of bring this over here to kind of see how this all plays out. And then once we get the face on there, we are going to manipulate this a little more to clean this up so that it actually looks like the reference photo that we used. All right. But for now, we're going to place that on this layer here. And we're going to make sure that the puff is on top of the red hat. So let's go ahead and move that there. And everything looks okay so far. I am going to adjust the hat just a little more to give it a more hat-like appearance there. So that looks good. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we need to do next. So zoomed in here on the mustache because that's kind of what we need to do next. And we're going to utilize a feature on Sure Cuts a Lot where it allows us to draw utilizing a pen tool, and we can utilize a new effect in Sure Cuts a Lot 5, which is the symmetry mirror. So again, this looks like a perfect mirror object, so that's what we're going to do. With the pen tool selected, I'm just going to go ahead and trace around this, just give it some points, and then we're going to manipulate these points before we mirror it. So again, I'm just creating a rough outline of the mustache, and with this node tool editor, we're able to manipulate this to kind of match what we need to do. So I'm going to select everything here. I'm going to choose the cusp, and now I'm going to be able to move these around to kind of fit the mustache area. So let me go ahead and change these here to a cusp. And now we're able to manipulate these as well. All right. So again, really up to you on how close you want this mustache to kind of look. But I think for now, that looks pretty decent. Okay. Now with this selected, now we can go up to the effects menu. We can go up to the symmetrical mirror. And we're going to move this slider basically all the way over here, and we're going to update the preview. Again, what we're looking for is for there to be closure. So again, you saw that little black mark right there. It is now gone. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And that kind of gave us our symmetrical mirror effect for the mustache. So I'm going to choose my zoom level. I just want to go ahead and click this button up here so that way I'm zoomed back out. I'm going to change the color of the mustache. Let me make sure I select both of these here. And I'm going to go ahead and change the color of that to the white. And that way we have a mustache. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create the face. We're going to give the nose and the eyes. All right, so the next part, we're going to go ahead and create the face. I'm going to lock all my layers again. And the face, to me, we're going to take our favorite shape, which is a circle, and then we're going to kind of manipulate the circle to kind of fit this little arch and down here as well. So again, not looking for anything too perfect, but we're going to go ahead and select it, select the selection tool, and just angle it the way that it sort of looks on here, and just get it to fill in the space. So now we can almost take it over here, apply that, but you can kind of see how we have really sharp corners here, and to simulate that, we can definitely utilize the node tool here. And we can select this one, select this dot by holding the shift key down, and let's go ahead and turn these here to cusps. And that's how we can kind of get that same effect. Now the next part is for layering. Let's go ahead and adjust the layering to be where we need it, so below the mustache. And now it's time to create the circle and the eyes to give Santa. For that, again, we're going to go over here to the shape tool, make sure we have circle selected, and now we can go ahead and hold the shift button down, get an eye. So we'll turn that to black, use our position tool, select it. We can copy this, we can paste it just so that they're the same size, and move it into the desired position. And again, we can go ahead and paste this one. We're going to create this one a little bit bigger because this is going to be the nose. Hold the shift button down while you're resizing. And of course, we can change the color back to a skin color to give Santa. All right. So all of that looks really good. And again, to kind of have this thing stand out a little more, let me change the color to maybe a blue. Hit the OK. Change that to a blue. Okay, just so we can see some detail. Now, I told you that we were going to talk about the eraser tool. That way we can kind of give ourselves a clean edge for the hat. And let me show you how we can accomplish that. So again, I always suggest locking all layers that you don't want to touch or alter. And that way we can definitely select the red hat here and unlock it. With the eraser tool selected, we can click on it, always choose a circle, and we can change our eraser size to something that is comparable to our layout. And again, what we can do is we can simply just kind of remove some of these edges here to kind of give ourselves a hat. Okay. Now you can kind of see that we exposed some of the Santa hair above. We still have some work to do as far as if we're going to actually create this as a layered piecing. But again, we can definitely select the hat and kind of grow it to fit our needs. All right. But that is how we can go ahead and create something that we find inspiring us, and we can do everything inside of SureCuts a Lot 5. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this little miniature tutorial on how you can utilize SureCuts a Lot to create some pretty neat things. All right. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing if you want to see more videos.